Good morning. It is the first day of my week off, though it kind of starts with a lesson. I've got a lesson booked in with one of my students and I'm going to do that now. But I thought I'd vlog because, Devon's beautiful and Cornwall. We're going to be looking at, hopefully Cornwall. We'll see. We might just explore a lot of Devon. So I thought I'd take some vlog footage while I'm doing it and sort of vlog my reading week, my holiday week, and, show you a bit of the lovely countryside because the weather is spectacular. We wanted to take the first week in September off, and I said to my partner, look, August has been a washout, but I'm telling you now, the first week in September will be amazing because when I was teaching in schools, we'd go back to school and it would always be amazing. And you'd be back at work and the kids would be back at school and the weather would be stunning. So I've been proven right because since Saturday, since the 1st of September actually, the weather has been perfect. We have had mid-20s in terms of the temperature, mid-20s Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but just perfect. And I'm wearing my beachy shirt because we're going to go to the beach today, straight after my lesson. So yeah, I thought I'd just tell you. So what else is happening reading-wise? I've got a few things on the go. I'm buddy reading Sword of Kaigan with lovely Dia from Novel Idea, Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and Gemma from Gem of Books. We have been sort of buddy reading various fantasy books over the past year, and that's been fun, but we've yet to find one that we all like. And yeah, so hopefully this will be the one because so far we're about 4 or 5 chapters in and it is really good actually. It does live up to the hype so far. I'm hoping it doesn't disappoint throughout, but it's been really good. So I'll talk a bit more about that later because I've got to start work soon. The other thing I've got going on, I'm still reading Rather Weird and The Mountains Sing, but I've got no time to read them. But hopefully now that I'm off work, I will have more time for reading. And today is Monday. So it's Monday the 4th of September. And I could not be more happy to be going on holiday on a day when I'm normally returning to work. So yeah, this is lovely. Moody Mondays is something we're starting with my lovely book waffle group that I chat with on WhatsApp. So we decided that I need more mood reading in my life, and I was like, we need a moody month, but March is taken up with so many things that it can't be, and there's so many readathons. So we're like, you know what, we need a monthly Moody Monday where we just on a Monday, the first Monday of the month, we pick a mood read book. So I'm going to do that. So I'll let you know what I pick. So far I'm thinking Heartstopper Volume 4 because I can read that on the beach today and that'd be nice. But yeah, it's a big book to carry to the beach, so we're in the car, so who cares. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I'll check back in later. Completely forgot my microphone. I'm hiding under an umbrella because it's hot and I'm at the beach. And the wind, hopefully, the wind isn't too windy for the microphone. But yeah, just got here. It's a few hours after I left the last bit of recording, and I'm going to read Sword of Kaigan, catch up on my pages for yesterday and today, so I'm a chapter behind. Anyway, yeah, we're enjoying ourselves here at the beach. It's beautiful here. We're at a beach called Saunton Sands in North Devon, and it's just stunning. There's big sand dunes behind me, which I'll show you as well. But yeah, what a beautiful day. Very happy right now. And this is the view from the beautiful Saunton Sands Hotel overlooking the sand dunes and a huge beach. It's absolutely beautiful, one of my favourite beaches in Devon. We relocated to Instow for a bite to eat, which is just up the coast. Can't go to Instow without getting a Hockings ice cream. Beautiful ice cream made in Appledore, and just over the bay, that's the town of Appledore, just off over the other side of the estuary. Instow and Appledore face each other. So Hockings only do vanilla ice cream, but they do it beautifully. The next day we decided to take a drive to Cornwall, which is the next county along, very south-southwest of the UK, and we decided to drive to St.Ives, beautiful beach town, harbour town, and along the way we passed through lots of mid-Devon. This is the town of Oakhampton, and then we stopped off at a very famous literary landmark, which is about halfway between us and St.Ives. Jamaica Inn stands today, hospitable and kindly, a temperance house on the 20-mile road between Bodmin and Launceston. In the following story of adventure, I have pictured it as it might have been over 120 years ago, and although existing place names figure in the pages, the characters and events described are entirely imaginary. Daphne Du Maurier, October 1935. An hour from Jamaica Inn, and then we got to the beautiful, gorgeous coastal town of St.Ives in Cornwall. Very busy in the summer and still quite busy in September, but the weather was stunning, and when you see the amazing beaches you can see exactly why it's so popular, and we had a wonderful day here at the beach. Hello! I haven't had time to do much chatting to the camera because we've been travelling a bit today, and you might have seen already we went to Jamaica Inn on the way to St.Ives in Cornwall. So we travelled about an hour from home, got to Jamaica Inn, and I was really pleased to be there. My partner surprised me by saying we were going to go there on the way to St.Ives, which is lovely because you know, he's not very bookish, and he knows I wanted to go there, and it was like a nice surprise, and it was nice to go and to see the place. And it's a beautiful old pub and like a gorgeous hotel, but it's quite commercialised, I suppose, now, but still a lovely place to go and visit. And I stopped myself from buying a Daphne Du Maurier book, which would have been, I think I was going to get the one, there's a few set in Cornwall, Frenchman's Creek I've already got, but there was another one I don't have, so I was going to do that, and then I got myself a bookmark instead, so I was pretty good about it and not getting a book. I finished my pages of Sword of Kaigen yesterday. I didn't really read much at all after saying I was going to read loads, and I didn't read much at the beach because it was too windy, so it was hard to keep our umbrella up and read at the same time. So basically I've got most of my reading done this morning. When I was in bed, I listened to the chapters from yesterday, Sword of Kaigen, and it's got so good. The world building is amazing for a standalone fantasy novel. Anyway, yeah, lots of it's kind of Asian based fantasy, so it's really, really good, and I'm really enjoying it. So that was great. I've read today's pages already, so I'm kind of skipping ahead and reading tomorrow's because I just need to know what's going on. And then my Moody Monday read is The Wizards of Odd by Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams, which I got for my birthday. And I say it's not by them, they've got short stories included in the collection. It's a collection of comic fantasy, so I thought I'd read some of those rather than, don't need to read the whole book. Moody Monday is something we came up with just because we were like not doing enough mood reading, and it's just sitting there, and I've wanted to read the Terry Pratchett story particularly for a while, so did that. So yeah, we're in St.Ives today. We're at the beach. It's beautiful here. You'll have seen some footage, and we're gonna probably go and have something to eat this evening, and then we're staying at like a guest house tonight, more like an Airbnb kind of thing, but tomorrow we're heading to a posh hotel on the other side of St.Ives, Carbis Bay, which is also another beautiful beach. So we're just on the Atlantic coast, I believe, at the moment. So yeah, anyway, I've been hiding under this umbrella because it's not hugely hot here. It's perfect weather actually. It's like low 20s degrees Celsius, and it was fiercely hot yesterday in Devon, and Cornwall is a bit cooler, and it's just lovely. We've got 3 days of pure sunshine, no cloud ahead of us in Cornwall, so we're really lucky. Anyway, I'm going to sign off here for a bit, and you may see some more footage from this evening, but you may just see tomorrow. But yes, so far, lovely holiday. On to the one bit of luxury for our holiday. We did treat ourselves to this. It was a stay at the Carbis Bay Hotel, which is 125 years old and on its own estate and grounds, and has a very rich literary history. Virginia Woolf and her husband stayed there in 1914, and the view of the lighthouse across the bay is apparently inspiration for her novel To the Lighthouse. And they have a lot of Pilcher pilgrimages here. Rosamund Pilcher fans visit quite often because she based a fictional hotel in the Shell Seekers, and I think it's called the Sands Hotel, but she based it on Carbis Bay. The hotel itself is just stunning. We stayed in the old Victorian building, but you can also hire luxury beach villas and quiet cottages as well. The whole estate is owned by the Carbis Bay estate, and they have their own private beach, but the beach is also open to members of the public, so even though it's one of the UK's few private beaches, members of the public can go there, and I'd highly recommend it. After the sun set on the beach, we relocated to the rooftop pool by the spa and enjoyed a drink and a read overlooking the beach. So we're back home. We have been for a whole weekend actually, and I haven't filmed anything. I've just been sort of relaxing and catching up on washing and laundry and stuff, and a bit of work as well, because I've got a couple of days of work today and yesterday, and then the rest of the week I'm off and my partner is off as well. So we're going to do a few more things. We were going to have some visitors this weekend, but they can't come, so just going to enjoy our time in Devon, maybe go to another few places in Devon. And yeah, because it's really strange, since we moved to the countryside, we still feel like we're on holiday here. Everything's still so novel to us, so just a week at home is like being on holiday still. So what did I finish? Well, Moody Monday, I decided to read The Wizard of Oz, a couple of stories from that. I actually just read the one, I read the Terry Pratchett one, and then I had talked about Fans, which is a book by Michael Bond about fandoms. It's a non-fiction book, and I got that out from BorrowBox, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to read that. So I started reading it, and so far so very interesting. It's started off really well because it's a lot about identity theory, and I did a lot around identity theory for my masters because my sort of research interest was in identity and reading. So a lot of what they're saying is stuff that's recognisable to me, and it's a subject that I'm really fascinated by anyway. And it's very interesting. So far they've been talking about the fact that you know, everyone wants a sense of belonging. You know, it's just a human condition to want to belong, and it's how we've survived as a species, to belong to groups, because we couldn't survive possibly on our own. And that's the sort of, you know, that's the success of human beings, right, of Homo sapiens, is that we are able to band together and form these close alliances and survive and thrive actually because of it. So yeah, we're all wired to want to belong and have a sense of belonging. So it's really interesting. And then the whole idea of being in an in-group or an out-group, and how that kind of also has affected politics, and how partisan politics now can be comparable to football supporters, because, you know, no matter what happens with your team, football's a really interesting one. They've done a lot of social experiments on football fans, like soccer, I'm talking about here in the UK or the rest of the world, unless you're in America, football. So you know, there's this whole thing that you can change your spouse, your religion, your political allegiances, your career, you can change your, you know, anything about yourself, but you cannot change your allegiance to your football team. And politics is becoming a bit like that now. So the fact that, you know, politics, people sort of partisan politics are based on personality and rather than policy these days, and people become so entrenched in this sort of in-group way of thinking that they just refuse, even when someone does something or doesn't do something that they're supposed to be doing, their sort of followers still, you know, are diehard followers. So yeah, it's really interesting, really fascinating. And then I also I decided on the beach, because I was reading The Mountains Sing, which I'll talk about in a moment, and I did finish it when I got home, but it was just so heavy going emotionally that I wanted something light to read at the beach. So I started reading I went through my scribd list, and I was like, right, I'm just going to pick something off of here that's going to be like a day or two's reading, and I did finish it in a day. And that was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which is a YA classic, and there's just recently been an adaptation made of it actually, but I've wanted to read it for a long time, and I really enjoyed it. I've often said this, you know, I'm not a big YA fan, but the YA is a marketing category, right? So there are just YA books, and then there are good books that are marketed as YA, and this is one of them. It's a coming of age novel, and I like coming of age, and that's generally what YA is really. So but it's about Aristotle, who is 14 when we meet him at the start of the book, and he lives in Austin, Texas. His background is Mexican. Aristotle lives with his mum and his dad, and he was born when his dad came back from the Vietnam War, because the book is set in the late 80s, and his dad, so he was a late baby. They already had two older siblings who were about 9 and 10 years older than him, and then his dad came back from Vietnam, very scarred, very damaged. They had Ari, and as he's called in the book, and his older siblings, he feels like, you know, they're not really siblings. He's, you know, not grown up alongside them, and his oldest brother they just don't talk about anymore, and we discover that's because he's in prison. But we don't discover what happened and what he did until later on in the book. And Ari's trying to come to terms with being the expectations his parents place on him, being the second son who is now the only son that as he knows of it, because they never speak of his older brother, he's often wondering about what happened to his older brother. He often feels like like everyone growing up, like everybody else knows what's going on and you don't. So it was really relatable, and then he meets Dante, and Dante is another boy with a Mexican background who also sometimes doesn't feel like he belongs, and they form a friendship. And I won't go into any more of it, but the friendship is beautiful, and it's a really good book. That's what I'm going to say about it. And it's a quick read as well, so yeah, I'd highly recommend it if you've got a day to read something and you want something that's sort of coming of age, about friendship and about growing up and belonging and everything else. And yeah, really good. So I finished The Mountains Sing. The Mountains Sing is really powerful, and I learned an awful lot about Vietnamese history. So we are told a story, two narrators, a girl and her grandmother are telling us their story. The grandmother was born in 1920, and she lived through the Second World War, lived through the sort of land reforms when the communists took over Vietnam, and then she's looking after her granddaughter when the Vietnam War breaks out. But they called it something different. I can't quite remember what they called it, but yeah, so they're living in North Vietnam, and they're all of the grandmother's children have gone off to fight in the war in some way or another, so she's looking after her granddaughter, and we're getting the story of what's going on with the granddaughter and the grandmother at the time of the war, and then we're getting the backstory of the family interspersed, so as the grandmother's telling her granddaughter her story as well. So it's really powerful. I learned an awful lot about Vietnamese history. It was extremely, as you can imagine, harrowing and dark kind of book, but lots of positive moments as well, and lots of hope at the end of the book particularly. So I'm really glad I read it. So thank you, Gemma from Gemma Books got it for me. I read that, was my first book for the World Cup Readathon, which was hosted by Roz Scally-Dandling about the books, and Mark from Book Time with Elvis, and also Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. And yeah, so that's been a great readathon. So I've got a few more books to read for that actually, but I'll get to them at some point. But it's been really good because that's been on my shelf for a while, and yeah, that got that off my TBR. And then I started looking at my book for Straya September. So Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot is running an Australian readathon, and he did a brilliant video recommending some authors, and there's one that he's recommended for a while, and that's Craig Silvey. And there's a middle grade book, so Scott never usually reads and recommends middle grade, so I was quite interested in this as someone who does, and he recommended Runt by Craig Silvey, and I've looked for it when he previously recommended it, but it's not called that over here, which is why I couldn't find it. But what I did find, I looked on BorrowBox or on Libby, was another book by Craig Silvey, which I've started reading and so far I'm really enjoying, and it's called Jasper Jones, and it's set, I think, in the 60s in Australia, and it's the sort of story. We start off with a boy who's the narrator of the story, and a kid called Jasper Jones knocks on his window in the middle of the night and asks him to come with him. He wants to show him something. And Jasper Jones is he's mixed race, and it's a small town in Australia, and if something's gone wrong in that town, or if someone's done something bad, they always blame Jasper Jones. Lives with a really drunken father. He has to fend for himself a lot of the time. He has developed this tough attitude, and he's often blamed for things that are stolen or people being beaten up. So a lot of overt racism going on, and classism as well, because he's, poor. There's poverty. There's so all sorts of things going on for this kid. And he knocks on the window of our narrator, who lives with his parents. Who his dad is a literature professor, I believe, and this kid is one of the smartest ones in school, and he's asked to go and follow him, and he does follow him, and they come across a scene, and the book starts from there. And when I looked it up, it's actually also got an adaptation starring Toni Collette and Hugo Weaving, which I definitely want to watch. So this is another YA book. Is like one of the taglines was, "It's Australia's Stand By Me." So I was like, I am there, I am in for that. So I started reading that. So I'm currently reading that, and I'm still reading Sword of Kaigan with Gemma and Dia and Sandy, and that is so far so good. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the book, and it has been a real roller coaster of a book. So much going on, so much action. Sword of Kaigan set in a world, it's kind of Asian inspired fantasy, but there's this world where there are pockets of civilization which are kind of very much based on a kind of ancient, almost feudal system, almost like the samurai feudal system of these warriors, and they live in, you know, not very technologically advanced, but the society actually is technologically advanced, but these people pride themselves on being the best warriors in the world, and they live, you know, in the same way for thousands of years. They also have elemental powers, and yeah, it's just been such a good book. But at the core of the book, it's about a woman and her relationship with her children, and being a mother and being a warrior. And yeah, it's just really powerful, and some of the scenes have just been beautifully written. The action scenes and the battle scenes have been thrilling. Like, I'm not a huge one for a long extended battle scenes, but these have been, and they have just been thrilling. Like, you just couldn't put them down. So yeah, really enjoying that. So I'm going to stop my holiday vlog now. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of Cornwall and Devon, and I hope you've enjoyed sort of spending my reading week with me and seeing what that's like. And if you like this rambling nonsense, not sure why you would, but if you do, why not consider subscribing, and hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye.